So I teach full-time at Los Angeles Valley College, and I have 140 students. We're the district with the most students per class, so I have 45 English students per class. And one of the things that my husband and my family always say to me is, why do you grade, why do you mark so much? Nobody else does it anymore. And I'm not going to say nobody else does it, but when you have 45 students to sit and spend half an hour on each paper is pretty time consuming. So for the last few years, Saturday and Sunday are work days. I get up in the morning, I make breakfast, and then I sit in my office, and I should grade for about 7 hours. And I give lots of student feedback. And I always tell them when they get back the paper, don't get alarmed, because I think you're going to appreciate it. This was evidenced by my reading. I had a reading at Vroman's in Pasadena on Friday, and my mom came up to me and she said, you know, all your students that were there kept coming up to me and saying, this is the English professor who really marks our papers. And so that's sort of my other life, and I want to say my real life. This is just a labor of love. And it has 3 different points of view, and it has present tense, past tense, 3 different countries. So talking about structure, it was really one of the challenges was to make the structure so that your reader could follow it and not get bogged down of who's talking and where is it happening and that sort of thing. And so I did have an editor early on in the process who made some suggestions, and we have little timelines at the little timestamps at the beginning of each chapter. But then I also learned as a novelist, you have to have more books. You can't just have one. So while I was looking for a publisher and trying to get this going, I did actually write another book because I don't have writer's block, and I already have 90,000 words of a complete novel, which is the industry standard, 80 to 100,000 words. And it's very different from this. It's called 60, and I decided to put her on a traditional island, so it's called 60 Days in Santorini. And even though I think it's a little bit lighter and it's a linear novel, I've always cared, as an educator, I don't know how many of you are educators, but we learn a lot of different things in college that maybe don't come to mainstream, like words, you know, like in here it says LGBTQIA+, and only recently I learned that the I's don't really want to be represented on that spectrum because it's a biological, it's not a sexual. And I'm not an authority on this stuff, I just do the best I can. I'm part of the co-advisor, I have a co-advisor and we're part of our club. At school we meet one hour once a week and we talk a lot, and it's just really interesting for me sometimes because I think that in today's day and age you would think that we live in California, people are open-minded, but I have students, we have a large Armenian and Persian population, and they come to me and they cry and they say, I'm not out with my family, and I'm just like, you know, what year is it? And so a lot of the issues that I talk about here, they take place in the year 2000. And in my mind, by 2019, these issues would be maybe not non-existent, but I was doing some research recently for an article in the San Diego Union Tribune, and where I was highlighted, which was one of my major hits, which was just so wonderful to have in the arts and culture on June 2nd. I had a whole full spread. But 2017 was the most dangerous year for the LGBT community as far as hate crimes. And so it's sad, it's very sad. And so my second novel, going back to the question, is that I do care about, I feel that I'm very much, I'm white and I'm privileged, and I wear that every day of my life and I acknowledge it. And so my main goal, apart from the book, is to bring others up. If that is what my tombstone says, that she lifted others up, then I will have been successful on this earth. And so my second novel, I wanted to deal with aging. I have a lot of friends that are over 70 years old, and they like to get funky. And I think that there's this feeling that, after a certain age, you're old, and I call my mom and her partner of 15 years los viejitos. I say that with a lot of love and cariño. I also speak Spanish because my husband's Peruvian, speak Greek also. And I think it's really important that people see themselves represented, like you said. So I'm having this older couple, mature couple. I'm having a lot of sex. That's kind of where I'm at right now, is I wanted to look at someone else, and she's an Encinitas woman, and she's blonde, and she's tall, and she's a swimmer, and she's nothing like me. So if I do another novel, that's what I'm working on. So we're looking to, for representation for that. That would be my next goal after the teaching.
Wonderful, thank you.